Hey there everybody, how are you doing? I've got another joining tutorial for you today, possibly a repeat of one I've done before, but I want to make sure that this join is good to go for a new blanket pattern I have coming out. Also, can we just talk about how absolutely horrifying, let's get it out of the way, these nails are? Just ignore it. This is shellac that I do at home. It's gel. I am so embarrassed, but I can't peel this stuff off and I'm lazy and haven't been able to have time to remove it. So you know what? Just enjoy the real life, okay? I've had to basically kick my family out of this room. I have no idea if we're gonna hear my new puppy scratching at the door or what's gonna happen. So again, just more real life. So what we're looking at today, this is my Cozy Joy blanket pattern. These are the squares in beautiful yarn from Mother Hook and Fiber. And I will try to link that in the not the comments and the description for you. So we're going to do a nice little 4-square sample of how to do the join for this blanket. I use what's called, or what I call, a junior granny cluster join, which is basically using 2 double crochets instead of 3 double crochets along the join. So we're probably going to do a little bit and then maybe fast forward. I don't know, I may end up doing the whole thing with you. But first of all, you're gonna have your entire blanket set out by your rows. We're always gonna start in the left-hand corner, and imagine there's more, obviously, but just for the sake of time, you stack your squares from left to right, okay? Now I know I'm doing top row first, so now I can just stack like this. So I'm going to use this very pretty joining color. Let's see, start with our first square. All right, I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook, which is a half size bigger than what I used for my squares. So if you're using a different hook, that's totally fine. Just make sure it's a half size bigger than what you used for your squares. The corner can be a little bit deceptive for this particular pattern, so let's talk about that for a second. What I usually do with my eyeline, I am not looking at necessarily it's hard to find a defined corner. And you'll know that if you've done these squares, because there's not like a normal, what do you call it, like say a 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets, to define a corner. So what it is, I usually look back at the treble crochets that we did in round 3, and I look at the first that made that corner. That was where we made the corner, really. That's where we squared the square out. And then my corner is the space that lines up with that second treble of the first that second treble before the chain 2 of that round. That might be the easier way for me to say it. So it lines up with it, and that is where my corner is. I'm gonna be really embarrassed if that's not what it is. I do everything visually at this point because I've done the pattern and wrote the pattern and everything. So we're gonna insert our hook into that space, bring up a little loop. I'm gonna just chain 1 to lock it down, and then 1 more chain. That is my first double crochet. I'm gonna do another double crochet, chain 2, and then in the same space, do 2 more double crochets to go ahead and create that corner. All right, it gets pretty simple from here, honestly. This is one of my favorite joins and it goes so fast. In each of these spaces between our CDC stitches, we are going to do 2 double crochets, which translates in the pattern to a JGC, Junior Granny Cluster. So we're doing these Junior Granny Clusters. There are no chains in between. This is so simple. The only time we chain is in our corners, okay? So we are just going across, going into 6 spaces. I'm using my little roller thing here, sorry. There we go. When I say roller thing, I'm using a yarn spinner that my friend Tiff made for me. And it doesn't, I have to put it on something a little, actually what happened was I detached the bottom piece. I just noticed that, that's so funny. Real life, I detached the bottom piece on accident and I'm not getting up to go get it. So I set it on something else just to make sure it'll spin for me, and it's working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 more. And then if you look, this space for our next corner lines up with that treble crochet, that second one before that we made the, the chains to actually make a chain space. So we're going to do a corner, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And we're gonna do, we're gonna do that same thing. Let me just get a whole bunch of yarn out so I don't have to pause too much. All right, so we're gonna do junior granny clusters in 6 more spaces down this side. And remember, that pause button is there for a reason if you need to catch up. I've been told, I don't actually think that I'm that fast of a crocheter, but people have told me I am. So I'm like, I don't know how to do it super slow. Like everybody has a rhythm, right? So let's see, counting 3 and 3, that's 6. All right, now we're doing a partial corner here, okay? So 2 double crochets or that junior granny cluster, chain 2. All right, this is what you should have so far, okay? We wanna grab our second square, turn so you can work. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is how I work. And now we're gonna do a standing double crochet. If you are familiar with any of my joining tutorials, we do standing stitches all the time for our continuous join as you go. That's just the way it works. I didn't invent it. I cannot take credit for it. This is how continuous join as you go works. And anyone who's never done it falls in love with it. So remember that you've got that. Remember, just focus on your trebles, and I promise this will be fine because you're going into that space that's lined up with that treble before that chain 2 from that round, okay? So I hope you're following that with me. It'll just help you visually not have to freak out every time you're looking for the corner. Let's see. That was a standing double crochet. Did you catch it? I'm gonna actually talk you through it. I'm so used to doing these so often that, yeah. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that corner space of the second square, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, standing double crochet. Now, to do the join part, you've got to slip stitch across into our very last double crochet stitch we made in the previous square. So you're slip stitching into the top of that stitch, boom, you're attached. Now we're mirroring everything down that line, basically just back and forth. We're just doing a mirror. So we're doing 1 more double crochet to complete our junior granny cluster. I personally, you don't have to do this. You can go into the next stitch. I personally, for just a cleaner look, I like to slip stitch into the space instead. It doesn't hurt anything. It just kind of cleans up and it makes that more apparent, makes that hole more apparent. So we're going to carry on and go into your next space. We're going to do another junior granny cluster, making sure to slip stitch across after each double crochet. If you don't slip stitch across, you're not continuous joining as you go. That would defeat the purpose. You just have like 2 squares just kind of separate and hanging out and not doing any good work in life. See how I'm just going across? Steadily but surely, back and forth. Remember, I go into the space between. And maybe on this next one, I'll show you why I do that. So let me get to my second one here. Okay, so if I go into this one, do you see that little guy right there? That just shows up a little bit more. It's very slight. That's why I say it's a preference. If it helps you to just go into each stitch because it doesn't confuse you on the next stitch you're supposed to slip stitch into, it's fine. You don't have to do that. That is literally maker's choice, okay? Not a big deal. But I'm going to carry on doing it in the space because it just cleans that up and there's no dangling anything, okay? I don't want anything dangling. Okay. All right, I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna make it up to this corner and then I'm probably going to pause the video because basically after this, you're just repeating what you did on the first square and then I'll be like meeting you back. Remember, there are 6 junior granny clusters between each corner. It's all you need to remember. But when we're just mirroring everything, okay, now I know I've hit my corner, all right? So you're gonna go into your second square's corner, first double crochet, going into that exact, that mirrored across double crochet stitch, one more. And then on this is non-negotiable. You need to do this. This is not a preference. This is how it's taught to do. In the chain space for after the second double crochet in the second square there, after this one, you go and slip stitch into the corner. And then you chain one, do not chain two. Chain one, do not chain two. I will explain that the slip stitch counts as your first chain of your corner for this square, and then you do your second chain right there. It's just spacing wise, it works, okay? Do what Melly tells you to do. Finish out your corner with your 2 double crochets, and then you're just gonna carry on. This is the top of the blanket. You're just gonna carry on across, then make your corner and hit down here. I'll meet you down here when we've, and you actually, so I'll meet you down here, but let's say you have 6 squares across, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares across. Once you finish your entire row, repeating this sequence, okay? Once you finish the entire row and you're at your last square down to here, unpause the video and we will start working across the bottom of that row. Okay, so here we are, ready to work along the bottom, okay? This is your top, this is your bottom. We're just turning our work. So we're at the corner of the last square, whatever your last square may be, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares, whatever you decided to do. And we gotta complete our corner so we can make the turn. So finish out by doing that second junior granny cluster in the corner. And then you're gonna do 6 more of those, 1 in each space between your CDC stitches from that last round of your square. That's 3, I believe. 4, 5, 6, double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. Let me get a little bit of extra yarn here. All right, now we have to complete each of these corners from the squares that we already joined. So we're gonna do a junior granny cluster, AKA 2 double crochets, chain 1, and we're gonna slip stitch in this little nub. That was your chain 2 from where you did a standing double crochet to attach the squares. I bet you were wondering when that came into play, like what in the world? You're gonna do a little slip stitch and then chain 1 again, and then do 2 double crochets, a junior granny cluster in that opposite corner. Look at that. Now I haven't steamed these squares, so these are probably gonna look a little I think personally, steaming these squares, it really benefits, the particular yarn I'm using benefits so beautifully from having a steam, but I tend to steam the blanket after I've made it. So if these look a little like kind of shrugged up to you, it's because the yarn's just not relaxed yet. This is a wool yarn, and wool is different than acrylic in how it lays. If you've ever worked with both of them, you know that wool is gonna have just a little bit more, I call it like a little stiffness, and it just benefits really well from having a good steam. Everything benefits from having a good steam, except ice. And then that's hot ice, so maybe it does, I don't know. All right, anyways, let's carry on. Do your junior granny clusters times 6 across. Is this why people say they enjoy my videos? Because of my random rabid chatter? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid, I swear. I just cannot. It's okay. As long as you guys are laughing and enjoying yourselves, who am I to change? All right, we've reached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the corner here. I need to do my next row. So I did half of my corner, chain 2. This probably looks familiar. Turning my work. I'm gonna grab my next square and do a standing double crochet in the corner of this one. So you should already know how to do that. Remember, line up with the treble crochet from that round, and there's your corner. This should, I have pictures of this in the pattern, so hopefully this is helpful. I think I just saw a dog hair from my new puppy. Maybe, I don't know. He's not really shedding yet. His name is Seamus. He is in the other room and doing such a good job being a sleepy puppy right now. So see guys, we're just doing what we did after when we joined square number 2 to 1. This is the same sequence. This is the joining sequence, okay? So just going back and forth, making sure we're joining as we go, never having to cut our yarn until we're done with the entire thing. How cool is that? friggin' love that for us. I'm actually surprised because this has been around for so long. Like I said, I didn't invent this. This is not a Melly thing. I'm always surprised by the amount of people who have never done it. They come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever done continuous join as you go. I'm like, really? I have been doing it for years. I thought it was just super common. And I guess a slip stitch method, which annoys the fire out of me, I'll do it, but I don't like to do it. I know it's kind of, it just is a different look, but I just, ugh, all the ends that I have to weave in when I do a slip stitch join drives me up the wall. All right, here's where we need to pay attention, guys. We are at the 3-corner intersection. So it's not as hard. Don't be intimidated. This is really easy, I swear. So we're going to start our corner here. Nothing different. Go across to the coordinating stitch. Do your second double crochet. Here's where we just want to make sure everything is nice and secure. You're going to slip stitch into this corner, and then I want you to slip stitch into the opposite corner. And then you're going to turn your work, and I want you to chain 1. That may seem like too many chains because I know I told you slip stitches can count as chains, but for this, I just do what I say. I like to have that chain right there because it just locks everything down in the corner. And now it's pretty simple. You're just gonna finish your corner. Do not slip stitch across to anything. There's nothing to slip stitch across to. That's gonna happen on the 4th square. So I like to tuck my work out of my way so I'm not hooking into that square because I'm like, wow, all over the place. I'll have that hook going all kinds of, you know, like I'll go, wow, and I'll get really aggressive with it. And all of a sudden I'm pulling up the square inside my stitch. It's ridiculous. Let's see. I'm trying to think about what I can talk about. I guess I could talk about this blanket. I'll do it on the next spare time that I get. The blanket is called Cozy Joy though, because it's part of a yarn collection that I collaborated with Mother Hook and Fiber, Ashley, bless, love her. Collaborated with her, excuse me, on the yarn collection, and I created a blanket pattern to go with it. And this is her yarn, the Cozy Joy collection, and this is just 3 of the colors that I'm using. There's 8, and including the join color. And yeah, it came together beautifully. You can see the finished product either in the pattern, if you're of course following the pattern and you made it over to this tutorial from there, or you can see it on my Etsy, on my page, on my Instagram page, etc. This is not a selling thing, by the way. I'm just trying to give the information if people are like, what yarn is that? All right, we need to do 1 more standing double crochet in this tutorial. So turning my work and grab my last square, and we're just gonna do that standing double crochet where we yarn over, find that corner. You see it? Are you starting to see them? I hope you just see them now and you don't have to like stop and mark the corner. But you know what? You probably will for a little while. I've literally made 100 of these squares. So at this point, everything's gravy for me. But we're just attaching like we normally have been, guys. We're just double crocheting, slip stitching across, double crocheting, slip stitching across. This is such a fast join. My 3 beautiful testers told me, oh, I feel like this one just goes so fast. I said, I know it does, because you're actually doing, for one thing, most continuous join as you go are all granny clusters, normal granny clusters. So 3 double crochets in each stitch. Well, this is 1 less. So we're saving time because we're saving stitches. So let's finish this out and get to this 4-corner join, which is not going to be, it's going to be very similar to the 3-corner join. I'm just going to have an extra slip stitch in there. Gets a little tighter in space, working in your spaces. As you get closer, I'm going to slow down. Almost there. Got 1 more after this to hit the corner. Okay, so now we're at the corner. Plenty of yarn, so we're not pulling things apart over here. All right, so you see, we've got our corner that we have to match up here. So we're going to do our first double crochet. Just be careful. This is what I was talking about pulling up yarn from the other thing, the other square here. Just slip stitch across into the next one, next double crochet. 1 more to start that corner. All right, you're going to slip stitch into this corner space. You might be guessing, but slip stitch into the corner space above that. You're going counterclockwise. Slip stitch into this corner space. So you have slip stitched into each space, and then I want you to chain one to lock it down. Now look, see how it's nice and tight. Nice and tight. That's what she said. Actually, that's what he said. I should probably take that out of the video. Probably not gonna. Okay, and then we're going to complete the corner of this square, slip stitch across, make sure you're finding the next double crochet that you need to go into. You'll know it if you don't, by the way. You'll get to the end and be like, oh, things don't match up. What is going on? All right, you don't want to do that. So keep on doing the same sequence, y'all. My Southern just came out. I may be from Florida, but I am a Southern girl. But because I'm from the Panhandle, I have a very mixed, I don't have a prominent Southern accent because I live where snowbirds, AKA Northerners, come and either retire or summer and live or whatever, and my accent is not as Southern as it used to be. I'm kind of sad about that, but it's okay. I still love you Northerners. I think you just ruined my Southern accent, that's all. No hard feelings. When I go visit my husband's family in Alabama, my Southern accent, it comes back out to play, and then we got a lot of y'all and a lot of stuff going on for at least a couple of days, and I sound like this, and then it goes away, and I sound all way too proper again. I like to sound Southern. Southern people are charming. All right, so we're to this last corner here before we make the turn. Make sure you slip stitch into the corner and chain one, and then just carry on back down the side. Okay, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna get all the way around this corner to here, and we'll do this one more time together, and then we'll just finish everything up, and you will have joined your blanket, or at least know how to. It's gonna be great. Okay, so we've made it over to the very bottom of the blanket is where you'll be at this point. But it's the same thing as what we did joining across. Everything is very repetitious, everything. So when I say repeat, it just go back to where I said to repeat from, and you're gonna be golden. This is just the best thing. It becomes a nice TV watching blanket to join, or just join for whatever blanket you decide you want to do this for. So I finished my corner. I'm going to chain one and then slip stitch into that little chain two nub that we made. One more chain, and then I'm going to finish out this corner of this square with a junior granny cluster. Okay, and then we're going to carry forth, onward and forward. This is what we're looking like. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way back up to here and finish this off with you, and we will have our little sampler blanket here. Okay, y'all, let's finish this blanket out. Got a couple of more junior granny clusters to go. Almost there, almost there. I watched Star Wars last week, so I've got that. You have to know. If you haven't watched Star Wars, you will have no idea. I was going almost there. All right, we're at the end. Sorry, not sorry, but sorry. All right, guys, and I'm going to I already have my completed corner here, and I'm going to slip stitch into my first double crochet, and that's it. It's done. How about that? I am not gonna cut that because honestly, I have to go back and unravel all of this and take some beautiful pictures. But look at how lovely she is. My lighting is probably not doing these squares justice, but how cute. And if you're like me and you like to steam at the end, and when you do your border, all of this actually does pull together and relax and looks really beautiful. So don't be turned off by like, everything dips. Melly, you don't know what you're doing. I swear I do. I've done the whole blanket. It works, okay? And look, even if you give it a tug, that means when you steam it, it relaxes and it'll pull into shape. So there you go, guys. That is the junior granny cluster join for the Cozy Joy blanket. If you have any questions, you're welcome to pop them in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram at Melissa_made_that. Talk to y'all soon. Have a beautiful day.